Coming up next on All About Android, it's me, Jason Howell, and my co-host tonight, Win Twit Dow. It's just the two of us hanging out, talking Android. We talk about Android 14 Beta 1, which you can get right now on most of the Pixel phones anyways. You can get it right now. Android 13, sometimes forgotten because it's not Android 14. Hey, it's on a roll. It's actually doing pretty good, it looks like. The Pixel Fold, totally going to happen. It's looking real certain for Google I.O. Bing, contrary to some articles and the beginning of us talking about the story, isn't actually replacing Google search on Samsung phones anytime soon. Meet makes way for Meet, and your email coming up next on All About Android.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is All About Android, episode 626, recorded Tuesday, April 18th, 2023. Bing butts in. This episode of All About Android is brought to you by HPE Green Lake, orchestrated by the experts at CDW, who can help you consolidate and manage all your data in one flexible edge-to-cloud platform to scale and innovate. Learn more at cdw.com/HPE. Hello and welcome to All About Android, your weekly source for latest news, hardware, and apps for the Android faithful. I'm Jason Howell.
And I'm Win Twit Dow.
And Win, it's great to see you. We have no third tonight. When we were kind of leading up to this show, I was like, Win, you want to just do a show, you and I? Because I don't know that we have done that since you come on as a full-time host. And I like these kinds of shows.
Dynamic duo.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. First of all, I want to congratulate you. You had a big week. Tell us a little bit about your week, just real quick, summarize, why was it so big for Win?
Well, I was at Kotlin Conf 2023, the first Kotlin Conf in 4 years. And yes, it was all about Kotlin. It's thrown by the company that makes Kotlin, JetBrains. And I was very busy. Yeah. I gave a technical talk. I did 8 interviews with other speakers at the conference, and I was in the closing panel. And yeah, it was huge. I was very busy, but it was really great. And yeah, Kotlin rules, and I got to just think about Kotlin for 2 days straight. And that's not a bad thing. That's a great thing. So.
I mean, ladies and gentlemen, fans of this show should know that Win was doing a talk and could have been upwards of 1,000 people in the room. And I just think of 1,000 people all there to geek out about Kotlin. That's pretty awesome. You had that's your crowd right there.
It is.
The right people listening to the right person.
It was. And I brought the energy with 2.5 hours of sleep, because that's generally what happens before I give a talk. I just can't stop practicing it. 2.5 hours of sleep. I brought the energy. Yeah. And I brought the energy some more. And yeah, that's what Kotlin does.
Then you crashed.
Yeah. I did eventually, yes, 2 days later. Yes, I might still be kind of crashing a little, just kind of more like a leaf kind of falling to the ground. But I have enough energy for the lovely Android faithful.
Oh, good. Because you're bringing the energy. I'm bringing the news, because holy moly, we've got some news to talk about. Now, last week on the show, when you missed last week, because obviously you were, where you were just told us all about, we had no hardware news. If there was hardware news, I didn't include it because we had enough news, and then some app news to fill the entire show. This week, we got some hardware news. So, just buckle up for that. We got news of all different types. We're truly putting the latest news, hardware, and apps into this episode for the Android faithful. So why don't we get right into it with the news? Take us there, Burke.
Wow, you really... the pressure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, can you take it?
We're going to talk about stuff that Michelle finds.
We're going to talk about things. Okay, that works, Burke. You did good, even with all that pressure. Win, you were not on last week, so you get the top story.
Woo! And the top story is very much informed by our very own Michelle Rahman, who has a mega thread of everything that's new in Android 14 Beta 1. there is a lot of stuff. And as usual, you should go right to the source and check out Michelle's thread on Twitter. But we'll cap some of our our favorites in this Android 14 Beta 1. There's a lot of pin prezzies for your pins, pin perks. There's a lot of pin perks. Pin perks. So in Android 14, you'll actually be able to have something called pin privacy, toggleable, that basically disables animations while entering your pin. So if you got any kind of shoulder surfers kind of just looking to steal, your little gestures, or just try to otherwise for nefarious means steal your pin, that is an option. You can disable animations, which I think it's actually really awesome.
Yeah, I've actually wondered about this. When I enter in my pin, it does have those little splooshy animations and stuff. I'm like, that just calls more attention to the thing that's actually being pressed. Yes. Any way that you can obscure that is probably a good thing. So I like that.
Yes, in app development, we generally like feedback when a user does something, but maybe if it's your PIN or other sensitive information, maybe you can do without it.
Yeah.
In other PIN perks, Android 14 may soon be supporting the also in 14 is the new auto confirm correct PIN, which basically is just any kind of PIN prompt. A lot of P's. The PIN prompt perk will basically auto confirm your correct. If you enter in a correct PIN, it will just automatically go forward instead of you having to hit enter. Although, and I know we've talked about this before, that while this is very convenient, it may not necessarily be the best thing in terms of negating nefarious folks who are looking to break into your phone. So along with the auto confirm correct PIN, there is a message saying, hey, would you like, or maybe you should think about having a 6-digit PIN because it is safer. But anyway, if you want to just get a little bit of extra time back in your day by not pressing the enter button for your PIN, you can get that with auto confirm PIN.
Think of all the
milliseconds.
The second you will save in every day.
Yeah, for sure, Z's. Let's see. I really like this one. Android 14 is expanding support for physical keyboards. This also includes, by the way, kind of remapping, because obviously keyboards, one thing that can be very PITA with physical keyboards is where the modifier keys go, because they've got the layout. So you can actually map them, and there might be support for backlit keyboard controls, like controlling that backlight from Android as an LED fan. I like that a lot.
Obviously, those features potentially come in really handy as Google nears the release of its tablet. And I'm imagining with its tablet, we'll have some sort of keyboard attachment thingy. Although I don't know that we've seen any leaks as far as that's concerned. Our Pixel leak segment is later in the show, but I have to imagine the features like this. It's kind of like the foldables and everything, making sure that we've got the foldable part of the OS all tight. And then sure enough, we've got the Pixel Fold coming down the pipeline as well. So I'm sure they're related. Yeah,
for sure. These kind of lining up the putt or whatever for large screen devices like the
both golf analogies work.
I don't know golf. My husband's a golfer. I just kind of parrot what he says and hope it sounds punt.
Sure.
Yeah, that's a golf term.
What sport is
right?
that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's totally a golf term, Burke. Punt.
I got confused for a second. We can't do that. We can't do that. Sorry.
As we keep sports off the show, I'm thinking.
Yes, please. I'm a very stereotypical engineer. Let's see what else we got. We also get this is ostensibly not a huge deal, but there is a new weather toggle that allows you to kind of toggle the weather display on the lock screen. Now this kind of like what NBD, right? But Michelle did speculate back in March that this might be due to new lock screen customization options. So it might be kind of just, the first feature in a cavalcade of lock screen optimization features. So I don't know. Also, just options are good.
Yeah.
Options are good. Did I miss anything, Jason? I think those are some of the big hits from here. There's a lot of really small things, like a lot of little UI adjustments. A lot of dialogues have updated wording to be a little more clear. But I think for Android 14 Beta 1, those are those are a few of my favorite things. Is that in tune at all?
Well, yes. So you got those. Michelle, he's been busy. I mean, he also
has
wrote
been
for
busy.
XDA about this location-based suggestions for Google Wallet, which is actually kind of funny because like Google Wallet used to have that, and then there's the new Google Wallet or GPay or whatever they call it nowadays, and it didn't have it, and now they're bringing it back again. So, you're getting the features that you once had all over again.
I like that because it's really confusing because, and this might actually be kind of a spoiler for later, but yes, before in the previous Google Wallet, not to be confused with the current Google Wallet, whenever you say you were near a location where you had a loyalty card, boop, a little suggestion would pop up and say, hey, you have a loyalty card here. Would you like to use it? And of course, that is not quite available in the current Google Wallet. But Michelle found some very, interesting values within the developer documentation that said something about Google Wallet, location-based suggestions rather. And so maybe you might be getting a new feature in Google Wallet that was an old feature in Google Wallet.
Oh, really, what's old is new again.
What's old is new. And okay, just to top it off, because we got to. Oh. Sorry.
Thank you, Google. Thank you for being so helpful.
I need to set a reminder to
we appreciate your input, Google.
Still talking.
Thank you.
Okay, and then in more safety features, there is a change upcoming in Android 14 that will improve, security with regard to two-factor authentication. So previously, prior to 14, if you had, again, nefarious folks writing, malware apps, they could actually use accessibility services, which kind of provide third-party apps the ability to read the contents of the screen and then be able to kind of perform inputs on the behalf of the user. Well, obviously, if you let a third-party app read the screen, that means it could read things like, like your Google Authenticator and other apps that generate UFA codes. Bad news, not great. So in Android 14, to lock this down, developers can actually prevent non-accessibility tools from interacting with their app. So if I am on Google Authenticator or some other 2FA token app, I can say no thank you to letting non-accessibility tools. So things like that are actually accessibility apps like TalkBack will still be able to access it, but any old third-party app that is trying to access accessibility services will be a no-go if again, if you're a developer of a kind of sensitive information app and you say no thank you. So there's still a lot of, room there for accessibility with TalkBack and there's still a lot of developer choice in there, but it is kind of plugging a fairly serious hole in terms of 2FA and security. So, I mean, Michelle's a busy dude, but that's a lot of really great and interesting news around Android 14.
When Android 14 Beta 1 was announced and released last Wednesday, so 6 days from now, because it seems so often that that's the case. We're right now talking about news that's almost literally a week old, but that's okay. We got to talk about it sometime. And our show just happens to be on Tuesday. Now that we're in the beta realm and not developer preview, does that lure you in when the developer?
It really does, especially with kind of IO around the corner. Not that it necessarily are things were related, but I think beta is when I really start thinking, okay, I need to adopt this. I need to put it on my phone, see if my app breaks. And also just, I think it's starting to, the features that are in it are starting to crystallize. And so as a developer and as an end user, I want to know what's coming. I want to know what's coming and if there's any goodies that I need to take advantage of. So beta 1, it's a good time. Good time to get in on it.
Well, we've been talking about Michelle already so much on this episode, and there's more because this isn't, I don't think, related specifically to Android 14, or if it is, Android Police certainly didn't mention it by name/number, but Michelle has shared something about Bluetooth on Android. He points to a recent patch to the AOSP repository that implements super wideband speed. This is related to features in Bluetooth's hand-free profile version 1.9. His assumption is that it, and I quote, enables even higher quality voice transmission over Bluetooth hands-free profile to upgrade Android to super wideband and use a relatively new LC3 codec. What does this all mean? It basically means near full band reproduction. It's also an increase in sample rate from 16 to 32 kilohertz. So it's basically a big leap in quality from network to network. of course, the tricky thing there is the hardware also has to support that. But it's nice to know that the underlying OS would support that to begin with. That's where all this stuff starts after all. So better quality Bluetooth calls coming to you, not as fuzzy, depending on the device that you're using. If it supports this, could sound really, really good. Not bad.
32 kilohertz.
32 kilohertz. That's my kind of kilohertz. Those are my kind of kilohertz.
I like the little subtle pun there. Sounds good.
Sounds good.
It
Sounds good to me.
idea.
Does it sound good to you? And if not, you've spent too much time in front of loudspeakers. So thank you, Michelle, for keeping us busy.
Yeah, and to round things off, we have a little Android 13 news, just to kind of like swing back to our dear friend Android 13. Seems that who is that? Who's that? Oh man,
we forgot about you. Sorry, Android 13.
Well,
You're cool.
Hard being an Android version, right? You get released, and all of a sudden people are just talking about the next new thing. I mean,
yeah, totally. I know it's got to be hard.
Well, we have some good news. So, good news for Android 13. So, Android 13 actually doubled its market share since January. So, in January, Android 13 was on 5% of global devices. In April, it has reached more than 12%. So, this comes from 9to5 Google. And if you compare this jump with Android 12, Android 12 sat at 13.3% adoption one whole year after it was launched. Wow. And so this seems to indicate, I guess there is a small chance that it'll just sit at 12% for the rest of the year, but very unlikely. So this does seem that there has been a much quicker adoption of Android 13 compared to Android 12. 9to5 Google kind of gives big props to Samsung for this, regarding both its market share impact as well as quick updates that it has been kind of like trying to keep up with, and also kind of noting, other folks like OnePlus, Oppo, Realme, which are very related companies, being quick to update to Android 13 as well. So hopefully this is just a trend of, manufacturers, OEMs just being a little bit quicker on the updates and getting everybody to the latest sooner rather than later.
I certainly hope so. I certainly hope so. That's, Android 13, we really neglected you recently. We got so excited about Android 14. You've got a lot to give. Apparently, you are really popular, and that's a good thing. So,
despite being an unlucky number.
Yeah, that's true.
Not that should matter.
That's probably part of the reason why we didn't, want to really focus much time on you, because no one likes unlucky numbers. But that's pretty positive. That seems, again, we're still talking about a half a year after it's released, and we're at 12%. But I don't know at what point, if ever, we can expect more than that. As we've talked about many times on the show, there will only ever be more and more devices, not less and less devices to update.
Yeah.
So, the challenge is real for Google. So to make that kind of progress, considering how many devices are out there, is actually a pretty big deal. So that's worth applauding, I think. Good stuff there. All right. So we are going to get to some hardware news coming up in a moment. And I've got some interesting help generating some of the facts, which I'll talk about in a moment. But first, this episode of All About Android is brought to you by HPE Green Lake, orchestrated by the experts at CDW. The people at CDW, they understand that your organization needs simple management over its big data. But with workloads remaining on-prem due to legacy systems, it can feel challenging to organize and optimize your data. And that right there is where CDW can help your organization by consolidating and managing all your data in one flexible, unified experience with the HPE Green Lake Edge to Cloud platform. The experience you're going to get with HPE Green Lake, it's unique because no matter where your data or your applications live, you can free up energy and resources with automated processes and streamlined management. And we could all use just a little bit more streamlined things. So not only that, HPE Green Lake creates a seamless cloud experience among multiple data environments thanks to its as-a-service model that meets your remote workforce at the edge. With unrivaled scalability, you're going to see an instant increase in capacity that allows for greater flexibility and accelerated business growth so your team can tackle bigger priorities, things like innovation, things like that. When it comes to streamlined management, HPE makes data transformation possible. CDW makes it powerful. You can learn more at cdw.com/HPE. And we thank them for their support of All About Android. And now it's time for hardware. Now it is time for hardware. Did that sound like a computer voice? And now it's time for hardware. Because I tried something this week, and I don't know how I feel about it, but I know that it was kind of useful. So I'm ashamed to know that it was useful. So first of all, what is the news? The news that we'll start with anyways is the Asus ROG phone. Again, every time the ROG comes up, I always want to say ROG, but it's ROG, isn't it? The Asus ROG Phone 7. It's the newest gaming phone. And this is always the gaming phone to beat as far as gaming phones are concerned. Like, these are always top tier. Android Police actually gave the ROG Phone 7 Ultimate a 9.5 out of 10. It has the RGB lighting on the back. It has an LED mini display on the back, as you can see, that little swirly swirl thing there. It has capacitive shoulder buttons, a bright, sharp AMOLED display on the front, the other display, not the little one that we're looking at. It does have the same design as last year's model, but, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But when I was kind of getting ready to do this, I was like, I love talking about hardware. Sometimes like pulling the specs from a million different articles. Sometimes it's just like not fun, just to give you a little peek behind the scenes. So I was like, what about using ChatGPT to give me a spec rundown? Maybe it can help me. And so of course I opened up ChatGPT and it told me immediately, my data is from I don't have anything, any news on this. And I was like, okay, well then I'll use Bing. So I opened up Bing and plugged it in, and I gotta say, it did a pretty darn good job of summarizing this phone. And it gives it gives you the kind of references to where it pulls each piece of information. It's running Android 13, Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, 6.78 inches display, that AMOLED that I was telling you about, very bright AMOLED, up to 16 gigs of RAM, 512 gig UFS 4.0 storage. Has a triple camera array, 6,000 milliamp hour battery. So this thing's meant to kind of run for a long time. With a lot of power these gaming phones are throwing around. So you want your device to last for a while. And right now, not a US release, but at least they aren't talking about that anyways. I even had the Bing Chat GPT, whatever you want to call it, convert from 74,999 rubies. It's rupees. Am I thinking of video game currency?
Yeah, you are.
Is that, wait a minute, is that?
Thematically resonant. It's okay. It's thematically resonant. You were just in the gaming mode.
Was that, now I want to know what that's from. Is that from Legend of Zelda?
I had Zelda pop in my head.
I think it's Zelda. I think I just quoted the price of this phone in Zelda currency.
If you want to buy an in-game Asus ROG phone in the upcoming Zelda game, it'll cost you this many of those.
This many rupees. Sorry about that. Anyways, converted, it's $913 for the ROG Phone 7. The 7 Ultimate converted would be around $1,218. So I don't know what the U.S. cost is going to be on this. When it does come to the U.S., it will eventually. But we're talking, this is a premium premium smartphone, as we've come to expect from this gaming category, and especially the ROG phones are always top tier. So I don't know. Should I feel bad about roping in some AI for stats?
No, I like it. I mean, usually with the article, we're like combing through because everyone likes to always, obviously tell a story and kind of give a lot of detail, but then,
right.
For I know, I love it. It actually kind of was very well formatted.
I know. I was pretty impressed.
I was really impressed. I was like, oh, wow, this is great. Now I feel like I'm cheating.
I was like, if there's something
Note
that
to
this thing
self.
can get right, it would be this. What's that, Burke?
Say note to self. Use ChatGPT for the specs.
Yeah, although Lee Woods in Discord has a really great question. He says, do you not have access to Google Bard? Bard launched while I was gone, and I am sad to say I have not used it yet. Since I've come back, I've been pretty busy. I've been filling in for Leo while he's been out.
Bard had something to say about me.
Oh, yeah?
It was not accurate.
Oh, well.
I think that was Bard. It was saying that I was a host of something.
Oh, was that
Yes.
Bard? Because
Yeah, I think it was. Or was that Bard? I don't
well,
remember.
ChatGPT in the Discord said that about Jammer B, about John also.
Yes.
That one was a little bit more specifically
Very.
so wrong, but
Yeah.
mine was along the same lines as wrong.
So I think these all, take them with a grain of salt. I figured it was like, it'd be really hard to get these exact specifications wrong, right? Like this.
Yeah.
Almost certainly many articles are going to refer to the fact that this phone is running Android 13. So how, if an AI got that wrong, I'd be really questioning it more than I do already. But so yeah, seemed like an okay way to go. And I think you're right, when we also kind of formulate or create a story around that when we're talking about new hardware, it's not anymore. It's not about specs entirely. It's about like who is this phone for? Not all phones are made for all people. This one's very easy to target. It's a gaming phone, or it's a phone for someone who wants a high performing device. Could not be gaming, but it looks, unique. It performs very well. So there you go. That's the Asus ROG Phone 7.
I love it. I will say that I think this is kind of the perfect, and I think this is like the ideal use case for chat GPT and the like, where, I mean, obviously we still need to talk about this. It's, the job here is to kind of talk about it and can make connections and pontificate and tell amusing anecdotes that are related. But, the kind of like raw data parsing that requires some, English, like natural language processing, makes sense. I don't know. I kind of like it for this. Like, it's just like data harvesting sounds nefarious.
Data
nefarious.
organization.
I need to find a different
or
word.
data
Organization. Parsing,
data
parsing.
collection. No.
No, guys, it all
We're just
bad.
Oh boy, yeah, it's just
Regurgitation.
regurgitation. Ooh, that sounds good.
That's lovely.
that paints it in an innocent light that everybody can.
In its best case, it's reformatted into a palatable.
Yeah, data
there you go.
reformatting.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
I
There
can
you
get
go.
behind that one. Well, I hope you like it, Win, because this next device was also collected via ChatGPT and Bing.
I did like it, and I like this. I like this phone. So I have gotten very, very, very excited in the kind of vicarious way about all the phones that have that Sony huge 1-inch IMX989 sensor. For sure, the Xiaomi had it, and now the Xiaomi 13 Ultra is here, and it has the big 1-inch Sony sensor that I can't get my hands on because I'm a resident of the U.S. and they're not available here. And unlike its predecessor, this Xiaomi 13 Ultra has not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 Leica lenses. 4 Leica lenses. Yes, and the sensor also has 23 millimeter optical image stabilization and a variable aperture toggle. So you can change the aperture from between f1.9 all the way to f4. So if you want to get like cinematic and kind of get all cinematographer,
I like that.
Cinematographer-y with it. I love that too, because it's kind of obviously a tool in the photographer and videographer's tool bag, belt, utility belt. So it's really funny because, we were kind of in an age where people are very purposefully, using phones for, professional like photography and videography, or at least experimenting with it. So this only just makes sense. I love it. Okay, so here's to the Bing Chat GPT spec list, which again, I found very helpful. So it's got a 6.73 inches AMOLED display, 120 hertz refresh rate. It is running Android 13 with the personal Xiaomi flavor of MIUI 14, rocking the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 processor, up to 16 gigabytes of RAM. I mean, these phones are rocking just so much RAM. Oh my goodness, 16 gigabytes. Did I say that right? Gigabytes, yeah. And then up to 512 gigabytes of storage. Oh my goodness. And yeah, the selfie camera is 32 megapixels, but yeah, you got the 50 megapixel wide, 50 megapixel ultra wide, 50 megapixel zoom, and 50 megapixel telephoto in that very gorgeous Leica branded camera bump in the back.
You're living the 50 megapixel life.
It is 50, 50, 50, 50.
Yeah.
Is there a song or something like about that? Anyway, could be. The Xiaomi 13 Ultra is already available for pre-order in China, starting from 6,000 yuan, which is around $870 US, all the way up to the slam banging 16 gigabyte RAM, 1 terabyte storage option for 7,300 yuan, which is around 1,060 USD. But we're not going to get it in USD or in the US any other way. So just something else for me to drool over with a 1-inch, Sony sensor. Maybe one day I'll get my hands on one. But really cool phone, and really cool to see what is out there. And if anybody gets their hands on it and wants to make Win jealous by writing letting me know how awesome that is, go ahead.
That variable aperture, that's a cool idea.
Oh,
I like
gosh, that is really cool. I wonder how you change the aperture, whether it's a software feature, did I miss that? Is there like a...
Yeah, I didn't see like how exactly that was switched.
I guess it wouldn't really make sense for it to be a hardware like ring or something. Maybe it's just like in software, I guess. So
yeah, or
either way.
Or is it one of those systems where it determines, it kind of reminds me of the variable display refresh, and some of those systems you don't necessarily have direct control over. It's smart enough to go, oh, well, this is a monochromatic, view, or there's, this is black text on white background. We'll give you 1 hertz refresh on this. Oh, this is a full, HD video. We give you the maximum, refresh rate. So I wonder if this is the same thing, like if it determines what kind of aperture setting you need based on the setting, the scene that you're setting up.
Yeah, could be. That would make it easier.
It's smarter. It's smarter than you. Don't worry, I got it.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of easy to be, but yeah, for sure, he's
not you. I'm not, but not to you,
no.
But just the user. These systems, they're always trying to be smarter than you. Like, you don't need to worry about that. I got you. And sometimes that works really great, and sometimes it doesn't. So.
It just asks ChatGPT what the best aperture for this particular scene would be.
Oh.
And then just parses that, and then just I don't know, that could be it.
Well, so that is the Xiaomi 13 Ultra, another phone that we probably will not get in our hands here because we never get the Xiaomi phones, but
no.
Still, I like the big circular camera bump thing that's going on. It looks... It just takes me back to the digital camera pre-smartphone era, where we had little digital cameras that we carried around. Kind of looks like that.
And there is a really cool case. I think Burke had it up before. There's a cool little case that actually makes it feel like a digital camera because it has like the little handle bump kind of at of the case. So yes,
there you
that
go.
Is the vibe.
There
we go.
Oh, yeah.
Does it even have a shutter button?
Yeah. Well, and it looked like it had a lens, like... Is that like a lens
like
screw
a little,
thing, or
yeah,
I don't know what that's called.
Sorry, photographer friends.
A lens
ring.
Screw thing.
The sun.
It's a ring.
Help.
A ring.
Lens ring.
A lens screw thing ring.
It also has a button.
Ant, where are you? Ant, help us.
Yes, I know.
I doubt that's a
Just
lens
cringing.
ring. It just looks like
No,
something.
kind of looks like
yeah.
It's functional, but it might be.
The thing that shields it from flare, right?
Maybe.
That would be
and-
a lens flare. If I don't know,
Not a
I'm
filter,
making
but
stuff
like
up
the.
now.
Okay, we're okay, man.
Still, it looks more like a regular camera that way.
Yes,
That's
yes,
what we like.
yes,
We're very
looks like
easy
a
to
regular
please.
camera.
It's got a shutter button.
Filter
I know
thread,
that.
says Victor. Sure, that sounds right. That sounds legit to
That
me,
sounds
Victor.
camera-y.
Well, that is a legit thing on a camera. I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. You could gonna put filters over those.
Yeah.
Trust us, everyone. We know what
Oh,
we're
yeah,
talking
you're right,
about.
actually.
This next story won't be difficult to get wrong because none of this is fact. It's all leaks. So if it's wrong, blame the leak. I don't know. But John Prosser he's got a pretty good record, I'd say. And especially with Google stuff, he's got, and leading up to like Pixel events and I/O and stuff, I think, a lot of times he's nailed it. And in fact, some of this is backed up by another reputable source, which I'll talk about in a second. But first, let's talk about one of the leaks from John Prosser, who says Pixel 7a, if we weren't certain that we were going to see it at I/O, he says it's going to be announced on May 10th, which is the date of Google I/O. It's going to be available for purchase immediately. The 6a will not be discontinued. It will come in charcoal, snow, sea, which is like a light blue color, and coral, which is a Google Store only color, and $499 to start. So $499 to get the 7a, happening like right away with Google I/O. So announce and for sale that day. So that should be interesting. Where things get even more interesting is all of the hype leading up to this Pixel Fold. We've been talking about this thing for the last couple of years, I feel like, on this show. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it really looks like everything seems to be pointing to this being a lock for Google I/O. Announced May 10th, pre-order from Google Store May 10th. So announced and pre-order today, immediately. Pre-order from partners and carriers on May 30th, available June 27th. And if you're wondering the price, $1,799. That's what John Prosser says, which is, that's the same price as the Z Fold, right?
So that's very comparable. Yeah. So I guess it'd be too much to ask for it to be cheaper. So that aligns. That's fine. I'll still try to get my little grubby hands on it May 10th.
Yep.
If it opens, I'll be like, oh, that's going to be so sad. I'm going to be ordering another foldable phone for my Z Fold 4. Is that... I'm sorry. Maybe
sorry, Z Fold.
Z Fold 4.
But Google did it too. No.
I mean, they did. Yes.
Poor thing. Also, and so I also mentioned, another reputable source, CNBC, has, according to CNBC, they saw some sort of internal communications that was shared with their reporters about it. Pixel Fold, codenamed Felix. Google claims in this internal communications it has the, quote, most durable hinge on a foldable. Okay. Supposedly it's water resistant. It's pocket sized, in quotes. Which, the Z Fold 4 is pocket. Like, aren't all smartphones pocket sized?
Yeah.
What isn't pocket sized? A tablet, like a full size tablet, isn't pocket sized.
Like an S8. Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. Let's see here. CNBC reports 5.8-inch screen on the front. I don't know how that lines up with the Z Fold. Folds out to a 7.6-inch screen on the inside, which is about the same as the Z Fold. And yeah, a little bit heavier, I think, than the Z Fold. A little bit stockier, according to Florence Ion on Gizmodo. Tensor G2 chip. This is kind of what we know about the Pixel Fold, but it looks like it's almost certain to happen at Google I/O. Are you excited, Win? Can you contain your excitement?
I can, but I'm still excited. Like I said,
I can't
probably
contain
will.
my excitement because I'm tired. But
It the excitement of the Pixel Fold 4 is just keeping me upright for now. But no, I am legitimately excited just to get. I mean, we've talked about a lot of great foldables coming out here, but again, kind of coming out in markets that aren't as accessible to us here in the US. So selfishly, I'm really looking forward. And also just seeing how Google does a foldable.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously as a developer, I've been hearing about foldables and flippables and large screens for many years now. And as usual, especially from the developer community, we generally like Google to go first and to set a precedent and to give us hardware, like, stock-ish Android hardware to test on. So heck yeah, I'm excited. And I said, I'm for real. If it shows up on May 10th, pre-order shows up on May 10th, I will be ordering it regardless of where I'm at. Maybe that might be in the keynote or whatever. You're going to see me in my poor little Z Fold 4. I still love you, bud. Ordering a Pixel Fold. Maybe they can just live together in my pockets. Man, I need bigger pockets. Yeah. But,
if you're going to have both of them living together in your pockets, you do need bigger pockets.
Oh, go back to cargo pants. Actually, that was what Mateo was saying.
Yeah. Hey, cargo pants are great for multi-device carriers.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Or like military pants with those giant,
Just big old pockets.
It's either that or holsters. You could do the holster for your smartphone thing.
Well, then I will definitely get stopped at security, like you do.
Well, that's true. Yeah. Maybe don't want to go there.
No.
Pixel Fold. Okay, so I mean, I guess we just got to prepare for the Pixel Fold future because it's right around the corner. Like it's less than a month away. That's crazy.
Whoa. 3 weeks.
3 weeks. Whoa. When you put it that way, it makes it even crazier. I kind of can't believe that.
Oh, I got to book flights and stuff.
Holy moly. It's going to be so great, though.
Yeah.
I get to see you in person.
Yeah.
We get to see. Has he talked about it? About it?
Should we wait till next? Never
Okay,
mind.
we'll wait. You maybe get to see other people. That would be awesome at Google I/O, but I'm not going to say any more than that because I don't know if I'm allowed to, but I'm just going to leave it very obscure like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I saw you wink.
Well, yes, you probably did. Up next, we've got some app news. All right, let's check out some app news. Okay, when you got the first one, this is an interesting story. I wasn't sure if it was really app news, but I just put it down here anyways, just because.
It's a spicy plate of something news, and I'm very happy to cover it. So there is a report, according to a report from the New York Times. Samsung is thinking about dumping Google Search as its default search and replacing it with
Dun, dun, dun.
Bing. Yes. So according to the New York Times, internal messages from Google indicate that they, quote, panicked when learning that Samsung was considering a switch of the default search engine on the Galaxy line of devices, both phones and tablets. I mean, maybe like about a year and a half ago, this might have seemed real weird, but I think we all can imagine why this switch might be considered, considering some of the big news that we have listened to, and I guess now in this show in particular participated in as active users. The speculation is basically that ChatGPT integration, that Samsung might be wanting to kind of leverage that as their phone search. And this would be a huge blow to Google, who gets $3 billion annually from Samsung right now as its default search. This is all kind of up in the air. Samsung's still talking to Google, Samsung's still talking to Microsoft, presumably or reportedly. So, I mean, who knows what actually will happen. So, I mean, we've reported previously on how Google is kind of all hands on deck, kind of trying to, really with releasing Bard and trying to, moving, executives and staff around to kind of get, Bard, in the same position, I guess, as ChatGPT. They are going to try to bring Bard AI to search. under a project codenamed Magi. I guess wise folks, wise AI. So we'll see what happens. It is possible that Google will unveil Magi in May.
Okay.
May, when other things might be. Maybe
there's something happening in May that we might see this at. Yeah. I mean, if
maybe
we're gonna
Magi.
Maybe, I don't know.
I don't know.
So I do want to point out, because I wasn't aware of this, but there is definitely pushback on whether this would even be possible. And it actually kind of makes sense. And actually, I'm pulling from an article on Android Authority. So thank you, chat room, for calling my attention to this. So the article says Samsung can't dump Google for Bing as the default search engine on its phone and on its phones. And the reason for this is because of Google's mobile application distribution agreement, the MADA, which basically requires Android OEMs to pre-install Google Search and use it as the default, which actually makes a lot of sense, right? It's like that tool it's that bag of Google apps and services that if you want to run, if you agree to this, then you get access to all of Google's, really top tier stuff. And that does include Google Search as the requirement. And were Samsung to move all of its search capabilities into the Microsoft Bing thing, they'd be sacrificing a lot of other things in the process because that agreement would be broken.
But the MADA has changed by region. I think we talked about, for example, India kind of making Google have their own version.
That's right. Yes.
So it is. So actually, it might depend on the region. So I think the thing that says Europe. Obviously, Europe has been hitting at Google quite a bit, and I think we did talk a bit ago about India, kind of making them change the MADA to make it a little more permissive and more choice involved. So there could be I guess there could be an avenue there for Bing to butt in and maybe take a chunk out of that $3 billion. So that's interesting. That kind of is interesting coalescence of both, individual countries hitting back at Google and demanding changes to the MADA for, monopoly, competitive reasons. And then, this whole other can of generated worms. Ooh, that sounds very nasty. But that it's a very interesting time also in terms of the competitiveness within the generative AI space, or sorry, generative chat space.
Yeah, totally.
So that could be a really interesting kind of like storm of a lot of different events for Google, just speculating wise, at least in certain regions. I'm sure us in the US are maybe not going to see much, but Europe, India and other countries.
These things are being unraveled and changed. It's certainly, I agree that it's probably, in light of this MADA point, which I missed in my prepping for tonight's show. Certainly that seems to put a pause on it. I don't think that it eliminates the potential threat of something like this long term, though. I think that
for sure,
really anything can happen when you've got all of these, different countries really focused on, in some ways, kind of dismantling the control and power of companies like Google over their products in the way that's happening in the EU and India and other places. So while, so something like this might not happen in the U.S., but I don't know, I could see some massive changes happening in the U.S. that might make something like this more possible, something to consider. At the same time, today having a fresh experience with the Bing chat thing, it's a pretty cool product to have integrated into search, to be able to use your search product in that way. So if Google's working to bring its own to its search product, that just, kind of somewhat tangentially related to what we're talking about here. That makes me really curious to see what's going to happen on Android over the next year or two as this stuff starts to get implemented first into search, and then the potential of that getting implemented on a deeper level into other aspects of mobile computing.
For sure.
more than AI already is, which Google is very want to let you know how great they are at AI on mobile, you know?
Really, we really want y'all to know, like, seriously, we can chat GPT too. Let me tell you about Magi. Let me tell you, like,
oh my goodness. We are going to hear.
Really interesting.
Yeah. I mean, Google I/O is going to be not that it hasn't already been filled with AI catchphrases and terminology in the past handful of years. This year, buckle your seatbelt, because I think they're going to go. This is their opportunity with that megaphone to remind everyone, or to think that they're reminding everyone, hey, we're the big dogs when it comes to AI, and here's all the things we have planned. I think we're going to see a lot of that at Google I/O. So
that's a really good point, because you could play a really dangerous drinking game about machine learning and Google I/O announcements the last, 4 or 5 many years, many years. And it's so funny because, I mean, I think it was always that kind of aspirational in the future, you know, sort of slowly bubbling up into different features like Assistant or whatever. But now it actually feels like they are actually being directly challenged and really have their feet to the fire in terms of really showing something substantial, and not just like, you know, nice, again, aspirational, like far thinking kind of things. So, oh, look at this really cute, like look at Google Assistant. It's talking like Pluto. It's role playing, it's cosplaying Pluto and like answering questions. No, this is like real, this is like real, like business impactful, like future of, you know, all of, not just the space, but even like speculating, you know, the business of Google, like how the business side of Google ends up. So anyway, really fun stuff. Can't wait to see that keynote. Oh my gosh.
It'll be interesting.
It'll be fun.
Looking forward to it. One of my favorite features in the last handful of years, and I guess it's since Pixel 2, I've talked about it plenty of times on the show before, is the Now Playing feature. This is the feature that when you have it activated on your Pixel, it's kind of like an ambient it's an ambient listening device that scoops up all of your data. No, it doesn't scoop up all of your data, but it does hear when there's music in the room. And when it knows that there's music playing in the room, it's able to quickly fingerprint that music and go and log it on your phone to say, like, these are the songs that just passively played in areas that you were with your phone. And I don't know, I find that feature, like, I don't use it all the time, but when there is a song that's playing that I'm like, oh, this is a good song, and I look at my phone and it's just passively letting me know on my lock screen who that artist is and what the song is, and I didn't have to do anything for it other than pick up my phone. It just feels like magic, you know, when it works out. And that feature seems to work really well. And so I love it. They're adding a new feature coming soon. I don't know when this will happen, but it looks like possibly Android 14 is going to get some sort of an update to Now Playing. It's an expanded summary page, so you'll be able to summon the summary page. It shows stats on songs identified, categorizes that information into things like genre, artist, frequency, at which time you heard certain songs. You know, if you go into an artist, it'll tell you, you know, all the songs by that artist that you have heard over time. Just weird little things like that me as a music nerd would appreciate features like that. Also, when does your phone hear the most music? Like, when during the day, or are you around music the most? That sort of stuff, and having kind of like a 30-day summary of all this detail. So I don't know. Sounds, you know, I can totally understand how someone wouldn't care less about this sort of feature. It's probably how I feel about like sleep. You know, sleeping data, like tracking my sleep. Like, I don't really care about that data, but somebody does. They care a lot. And I care a lot about this. So I'm looking forward to it.
I think it'll be fun. Although, honestly, my fun stats will be very boring the last 2-3 weeks. I've been listening to the same song over and over and over again. So it'll just be sad for me. It's like, girl, change your, like, insert music streaming service of choice station, please.
You've been listening to Louis Capaldi a lot, haven't you?
You caught me out, Jason. Actually, it's the new Darude. Yes. Outlaws.
I just saw the screenshot. It's totally yours.
It was me, and also
Panic at the Disco.
And Paramore, and
Marshmallow. This is all
you know, I love
isn't it?
Marshmallow. Yeah, totally. Oopsies.
No, DJ's crying for help.
DJ's crying for help.
That is a great. Now I'm going to look up that song. See, this is why.
Yeah.
This was a very indirect way of figuring this. I need to look up that song because I got to know what that song is.
Got to know what that actually.
Oh, then being a cry for help. All right. Okay. So I don't even know how to. So let me just say this. Like Google wants you to uninstall Meet so you can use Meet.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes total sense. So in yet more things are named very confusingly over at Google. Basically, we talked last year about, or maybe even the year before that, who knows anymore, about how Google had Duo and Meet, and then they were going to merge Duo and Meet, but then they were going to still call it Meet instead of like, I don't know, Duemo, Meet Duo, just anything else other than Meet.
Meet Plus.
Meet Plus. Meet Plus. The new app's called Meet. You still got the original Meet, and now basically Google wants to inform users that they should uninstall the OG, the original Meet, and get ready for a better Meet. Now they are providing an informative pop-up, but yeah, it's really confusing. It's just
we got to take advantage of these opportunities to poke and rib Google a little bit on its naming and its duplicate apps and stuff. Is it the end of the world? No. But it's kind of silly.
And it is
and at the same time, I understand. Like, they don't want that old app around anymore. What are they going to do? But I don't know. It feels very Google is what it is. That's all I can say.
Yes. Just, I mean, so wait, I wasn't quite able to parse this so is this in the old Meet? Is this screen in the old Meet or the new Meet? So is the old Meet telling you to uninstall it and then get the new one?
Yeah. That's a good. So get it now. That appears to be in the old Meet.
Okay, so that's okay. I don't know. It's so confusing.
Get it now.
For best results, uninstall Meet Original.
Yeah, original.
After
that's
installing
how you know.
the new app.
The OG. Get rid of the OG. Yeah.
I really want someone at Google to push an update to the OG Meet and have like a big uninstall me icon or just something like that. Like, I mean, they would never do that because it's not very professional and very kind of like little gross user experience. But wouldn't that just be better? Just be like, uninstall me.
Uninstall me.
Just uninstall.
Push here to uninstall this app that you don't need anymore because you've got this one that has a different name, not the same name. You're welcome.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
that they could have just done that. See?
Or just picked another word. Just pick any other word.
All you need to do
so
is
many
pick
words.
Another word. There are plenty of other words that you could have gone with. But they just really like meat, apparently. They're meat eaters.
And wallets. They like meat and wallets.
Google, there's two things we know about Google. They like their meat and they like their wallets. That is true.
We need a meat wallet. That's gross. Okay.
Ooh, anyways. On to our Android intelligence tip. J.R. Ray Feel has even more. You thought you knew everything about the YouTube for Android app. You don't. There's more to learn. And JR is here to teach you.
Hey team, lovely to see everyone as always. So we've been talking all things YouTube for a few weeks now. We started out with some out of sight settings worth digging up and finding in the YouTube Android app. And we moved from there to some helpful hidden shortcuts for splashing around all your favorite virtual streams. Well, today we're going to go in a slightly different direction and we're going to dive into some privacy safeguards, things that are in the YouTube Android app and can really be helpful if you ever want to go off the grid and watch certain clips without having them be remembered. Don't worry, I won't ask for details. So first things first, if you know you're going to be watching something you'd rather not have stored in your YouTube history, where it'll always be visible and then probably lead to endless recommendations for other videos on that same subject too, you can use YouTube's incognito mode for Android to go off the record and stop your activity from being recorded for a while. Once you know where it is, it's actually really easy to activate. So just tap your profile photo in the upper right corner of the app's main screen, then tap Turn on Incognito in the menu that comes up. Anytime that mode is on, you won't see any of your usual history, subscriptions, recommendations, or anything like that, and nothing you watch will remain associated with your account in any way. Whenever you're ready to turn incognito mode back off and get to normal, just tap your profile photo again to find the option. Next, if you want to keep your video watching activity from being stored eternally as a general rule, check out this buried YouTube privacy treasure. Just tap your profile picture in the upper right corner of the YouTube Android app, tap Settings, and then tap Manage All History. Tap the name of the Google account you're using, then tap the line that says Auto Delete. And hey, how about that? There, where no reasonably sane human would ever venture, lies an option to have the app automatically eliminate all your YouTube activity data on a rolling 3-month, 18-month, or 36-month cycle. That way you can enjoy some of the conveniences that come from having that history and all the associated recommendations there without having everything you do become a permanent part of your Google account record. Oh, and if you ever realize you've watched something you'd rather not remember after the fact, well, take note, that same section of the YouTube settings also lets you manually delete any individual video views from your history. So no more endless Right Said Fred recommendations just because you were feeling slightly sexy on one random day. Last but not least, a little known fact, by default, YouTube actually makes lists of every playlist you've created and every channel you've ever subscribed to public and available for anyone to see. Which, I mean, hey, maybe that's okay by you, or maybe you're someone who doesn't want your secret affection for the early works of Ace of Base to be known to the world.
Why not?
If you'd rather keep your most mortifying tastes to yourself, you can make your YouTube activity private by heading into the settings area of the YouTube website on a computer. Click Privacy in the main left of screen menu, then turn on the toggles next to Keep All My Saved Playlists Private and Keep All My Subscriptions Private. Good to know, right? Hey, remember, you can get an endless stream of tips like these straight from me into your inbox with my Android Intelligence newsletter. Brings you 3 new things to try every Friday with plenty of dated 90s pop music references to boot. And it's completely free for you, of course. Just head over to androidintel.net/twit to sign up, and I'll send you a few special bonus tips to get the fun started. That site again is androidintel.net/twit. Next week, we'll wrap our little YouTube series up with a look at some super helpful advanced features that are lurking within the YouTube Android app and completely unbeknownst to most Android appreciating animals. For now, back to you, gang.
Thank you, JR. Man,
Thank you, JR.
making us all professionals in the YouTube for Android app. I'm amazed at how like many different places you have to go to manage your data on services like YouTube. Like some of it's over here, some of it's over there, some of it's tucked away in this little corner over here. You have to know that it's even there to find it. Like I had no idea that subscriptions were just made public by default. That's interesting.
Yeah, I didn't know either.
Now you know.
Now I know, and now I'm wondering, oh dear.
Oh my goodness. People look at my subscriptions and be like, wow, he follows a lot of music nerds. He watches a lot of people make music. Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, nothing wrong with that. Good to know. Good to know though. Like I literally don't know that I've ever realized that that's how YouTube operated. That's kind of important information, I think, for people to know. So there you go. So you can control all of that. And thank you, J.R. Raphael, androidintel.net/twit. All right, coming up, your feedback. That's up next. AAA at twit.tv, 347 show AAA. Win. You have the first one.
I do, and I have a email from Dean. Dean says, I skipped getting a Pixel 6 due to reports of connectivity issues, but now my Pixel 7 on T-Mobile is randomly losing signal strength despite being in a location with excellent coverage. This issue started about a month ago. I've tried turning off 5G, resetting network settings, replacing the SIM card, but nothing seems to work. I was wondering if it was T-Mobile, but a friend's iPhone on T-Mobile has stable connectivity. I opened a case with Google support last week, but I'm still waiting for a resolution. Have you heard of recent issues with Pixel 7 connectivity? Your insights would be greatly appreciated. Dean from Thousand Oaks, California, viewer since episode 1.
Have you had any issues with connectivity on your Pixel?
I haven't barely used it.
No, that's true. You're using the Z Fold.
I do bring it with me, but then it kind of acts as like a second banana to whatever my other mobile activities are. So I never really kind of push. I'm never really on just mobile. I'm usually somewhere where I have Wi-Fi. So
Right.
I don't know.
I mean, I haven't really noticed any connectivity. I'm on Mint Mobile. Are they still a sponsor? Well, they either are a sponsor or were a sponsor. I honestly don't know off the top of my head. But Mint Mobile, sponsor of the Twit Network. I've been using Mint for a couple of years, and they're using the T-Mobile, and they're an MVNO of T-Mobile, so they're using the T-Mobile network. I don't have those issues with my Pixel. I mean, I did some searching and, came back with a 9 to 5 Google article about fixing your connection issues, which really just says exactly what you said as far as like things to try. Primarily, they recommend you reset your network in settings or you restart your phone, which not a whole lot of options there.
I've had all these problems, Jason.
You have? Okay.
With my Pixel 6 when it came out, and it seems like it's all related to 5G. Like,
my husband was the same.
And turn off the scanning so that it just sits on 4G and stays there and doesn't do anything that it should. It just stick to 4G.
Okay. Well, okay.
Yeah, my husband had the same problem while we were traveling, and he was just like he blamed it on 5G, and it was really funny because at that moment he had no internet and I had no battery, so we were quite the pair of people traveling with our phones. But yes, confirm.
Well, so the bummer then, Dean, as you know, because you're yelling at us right now, I'm sure, is that you've already tried turning off your 5G.
Yeah.
You've already tried resetting your network settings, which is what the 9 to 5 Google article said. You've even replaced your SIM card, which none of us are talking about, but that seems like a pretty drastic move, right? And if that's not working, I'm starting to wonder if like your device, but I guess you had these issues with the Pixel 6, so I don't know. I mean, it's impossible for us to know exactly what's going on. But I will say it seems like there's a constant in the fact that the 6 has had connectivity issues. The 7, it's obviously reported that the 7 has connectivity issues. Like maybe it's a Google thing. And I don't know what that means. Does that mean that you continue giving Google a chance on their Pixel devices, or do you try something else that isn't going to drop? I guess that's the choice you have to make. But yeah,
I also feel like it's more prevalent maybe in areas where 4 and 5G aren't that. Maybe the network isn't that strong.
Like
we're
stable.
kind of on the outer limits of some of these networks here in Petaluma, at least. I definitely am where I live. It's super spotty, and it's definitely not 5G.
Well, Thousand Oaks is...
But I'm just saying, around here at least. I don't know how Thousand Oaks is. But it's kind of a similar geographic, it's like built along a freeway and,
Yeah, Thousand Oaks, LA area, Los Angeles. So yeah, I would think that LA would have really great coverage throughout, but I guess
it's definitely on the outer edges of LA. It's more like yeah.
So I don't know what the solution is there, but I feel your pain, Dean, and I'm sorry, and I don't know what else to say about that. I hope you figure it out. If you figure it out, let us know. AAA@twit.tv. Kyle from Tampa, Florida wrote in to say there was recently a warning from the FBI warning about juice jacking and to be careful plugging your USB charger into publicly available USB charging stations. These warnings have been repeated on the Twit network for years. Shout out to Security Now. But my question is specifically about Android phones. Years ago, Android added a feature on the phone to make a selection when plugging in a USB charger to allow charging only, or data transfer. Does this software feature make Android phones safer, or could a bad actor still cause harm to your phone bypassing this feature? Thanks. I mean, my assumption has been that if the default action on my phone when I plug it into USB, which I believe it is to charge and not to pass data, that the data line is cut off, right? The OS, the system, I'm trusting that when the system says it's charging, it doesn't actually have any data open. I have to actually go into the pull down and select no data transfer in order for that to that pipeline to open up. But I guess it's possible that data would transfer through. Burke, you had the great idea of just having a charging cable that is charging only, no data capability possible because it's just not wired that way. What is this? This is the port-to-pow power blocker. So this is like a USB dongle that you plug into the device, the charging station. Let's just use that as the example first, and then your USB plug into that. And that just cancels any sort of data transfer possibility whatsoever. It's just power.
It's the opposite.
Yeah, and you can see that there's only 2 pins going to power only. That's like what this is.
Wait, I'm sorry. Doesn't that just say only data, no power?
It does say that.
maybe not port-to-pow.
Uh-oh. Okay. Wow. It does say that.
So no power can pass through on the about this item.
That's weird.
That's just funny.
Whoops.
So power cannot. Okay, so that's the opposite thing.
It is.
That's,
don't get that one.
Yeah, don't get that one.
Don't get that
That's
one.
only give data, not power. But they have these that.
I'll find it.
Burke put this in there. Blame Burke.
A huge thread earlier today.
Yeah. But anyways, there are ways to strip it out so that all it can do is provide power. And, they're not going to be able to throw data into your phone if they literally can't get data through the wire to your phone. So there's that.
Okay, I'm almost there.
Oh, he wants me to riff a little bit longer. There you go. Port-to-pow, pure
Data blocker.
Data blocker.
So what was the other one called? What was it? Port-to-pow
Same company,
power blocker.
Different thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
data
this is
blocker,
pure.
power blocker. You want the data blocker.
It's called pure.
So, anyways, I guess
pure energy.
I guess the point of your question is if it's, does that software feature make your phone more secure? And I feel like yes, it does, but like I was asking around and searching around for some sort of definitive, like your phone can't get hacked if it's just on power charging mode. And I couldn't really find that. So I can't give you a definitive you're okay. But I assume so, man. If not, like make that a premium, like a prime feature of Android 14, because that kind of needs to happen. But I imagine that's what the feature does already.
Yeah, I hate to just like kind of carte blanche just say trust the OS because sometimes you can't. But I don't know. Like I think my instinct here is that should be okay. But I mean, just watch me say that, and then someone finds some nefarious way of like spoofing charging only mode. But I don't know. It's in the OS, so certainly. I mean, if it's not safe, then there is a problem somewhere. I know that's kind of an obvious statement, but like, yeah, I don't think it should be like that. Yeah, I imagine if this was a security feature that Google rolled out and they're defaulting to charging only on plugin, and we all know that this, juice jacking threat, like it's a thing. It's not like some obscure, threat or anything. I agree with you. I have to trust that Google, when they implemented that feature, did that with this sort of thing in mind, so that you don't have to worry about it. So I think you're okay, but there are ways to protect yourself even further, and that is this like power only dongle or cable. So anyways, there's some options for you, Kyle. Hope that's helpful. When you have the honors. Yes, and it is now time for the email of the week. And the email of the week, is from JC. Hi, I've been an Android user since the Samsung Galaxy S3, and you guys have been my go-to podcast for all things Android. Oh, thank you, JC. Your conversation in AAA 625 about having AI such as ChatGPT being integrated in SwiftKey and Bard in Gboard got me thinking. Personally, as a Gboard user, I can't wait for Google to integrate Bard in Gboard if it can understand conversational context using multiple languages. In the Philippines, English is pretty much a first language alongside our native dialects. It's very common to seamlessly switch between languages even in the same sentence in normal conversation, both verbally or chat. While Gboard does its best to suggest words, more often than not, it autocorrects the word I want to use with the one it thinks is correct, but actually is not. This is especially true in words such as and in English, at English, or Tagalog, depending on the use. And I'm not going to pronounce this right. Victor, you can overdub me. And ong, thank you, Burke. Tagalog are often used in the same conversation. I would like to see AIs in keyboard apps that are smart enough that can understand the context of the conversation so that they can accurately autocorrect with the appropriate words when it comes to mixed language conversations. Thanks. Keep up the good work. And JC, let me see, salamat po for your email. And I'm actually really excited about this email of the week because I actually, as a Vietnamese American that is also learning Japanese, have run across this many, many times. We just like the limitations. I mean, I don't know, like I feel like a lot of folks that are bilingual or live in a kind of mix or multilingual culture tend to do this, and which is to, again, mix, jump between languages, or just, jump between languages. And it is, I have done that exact thing of being autocorrected, or I continue typing and not realizing that I switched to the wrong keyboard. So I think that actually that would be a really cool way of leveraging ChatGPT and kind of a learning language model to kind of just be able to context switch, because I just think it'd be really cool. And it's a very common thing. So hopefully there would be things for conversations for ChatGPT to learn from. So I don't know.
I could totally see this happening, but also we're kind of in this mode right now where everything seems possible with AI, but this seems perfectly fit to the strengths of AI and understanding context and everything that we're seeing around AI as has to do with language and stuff. So I don't see how this would be very complicated to integrate compared to some of the other things that Google's already done, and I'm sure that they're working on. So that's kind of relates to what I was talking about earlier, as far as we've seen AI on mobile so far, but now in the past 6 months, we've seen some really interesting new directions that go much, much further than we're used to seeing, with generative AI and chatbots being actually smart enough, to use and these sorts of things. So what is the next couple of years like from that new kind of paradigm of artificial intelligence? And I think things are going to get really interesting. Could, continue to be the real strong differentiator between different mobile platforms, and more than they already have been to date. So, I think that sounds like an amazing thing to hope for, JC. It sounds really, really useful.
Yeah, I would totally +1 star, upvote, whatever you want to call it, this feature. Absolutely. I mean, especially in the US where we have all kinds of different languages, multilingual situations, especially like Spanish and English too. And anyway, awesome idea. I hadn't even thought about that, but heck yeah, I'm ready. Heck yeah.
Email of the week. Congratulations.
Blow on the draw. Congratulations.
Good job, JC. And with that, we have reached the end of All About Android. A wonderful show. I really enjoyed just hanging out with you, Wynn, tonight. So thanks for thanks for coming on tonight. It was a lot of fun.
It was great. I feel like we've been hosts passing through the night the last weeks.
Yeah. There's been a lot of schedule mismatch and everything. So this is really great. What do you want to leave people with? Actually, I kind of know what you want to leave people with, but I want you to set it up.
So I actually have content to like link and like promo and all kinds of stuff. So yes, I am an Android developer that uses Kotlin, and I was at KotlinConf last week. And not only that, I gave a talk, which I have yet to link on, but something I've always kind of been a part of my Android life, and now my Kotlin life, is kind of interviewing other devs and just learning about what they do, why they do what they do, what they like about the technology, whether that's Android or Kotlin. And I got the chance to do this again at KotlinConf. If you're interested, I mean, honestly, sometimes they're just really great stories of what people are doing in tech, regardless of whether you are a Kotlinite like myself or not. But yeah, it's called Kotlin Conversations because we had them at KotlinConf and their conversations. So yeah, just check it out. Even if you just want to see me like asking a bunch of very smart people silly questions. People are doing really, really cool things with Kotlin. And actually, I managed to somehow sneak a bunch of Android people on. So there's a lot of relevant conversations. Folks using Android apps to kind of help, farmers in Kenya increase their crop yields. People just doing really cool stuff like that. So yeah, please, if you're interested at all, check it out. And I'll promo other stuff when it comes out from KotlinConf. But yeah, and you can find me at randomlytyping.com. Otherwise,
right on. Thank you, Win. Congratulations on a very successful conference. It sounds like. Yeah. It's good to see you. Big thanks to J.R. Raphael, Android Intelligence. That's androidintel.net/twit. You can find his newsletter there. You should definitely subscribe to that. Big thanks to Burke here in the studio. Big thanks to Victor at home, behind the scenes. Both of them working arm in arm to make sure that this podcast is flawless, totally perfect, and without any sort of errors whatsoever. And actually, we're all human doing the best that we can. So you're going to get what you get. But they turn around a pretty awesome product. So we couldn't do it without you both. So thank you. You can find me this week doing a little bit more than normal. Actually, last Sunday, I hosted Twit. So had a lot of fun filling in for Leo. He's back on Twit this upcoming Sunday, back from his vacation in a few days. So you're going to see him very soon. But while he's out, I did Security Now with Steve Gibson earlier today. Tomorrow, I'm doing This Week in Google with the Twig crew. So I'm really looking forward to that. Had a lot of fun last Wednesday on Twig as well. And then Thursday, Tech News Weekly with Mike Sargent. So Jason's a little busy the last couple of weeks, but it's fun. It's fun being this busy. Actually, it's very nice after a full vacation because I came back completely unknowing of technology news. And this past week has been like a cram session. And now I feel caught up and up to date again. So there you go. So anyways, but if you want to find me, you can at Jason Howell on Twitter, twit.social/@Jason Howell on Mastodon. Don't forget Club Twit. It's super important here at Twit for us because it's you supporting us directly. And I can't tell you how important that is for us in this time of sponsorships being a little bit challenging, to say the least. So this is our ad-free subscription tier. So every single show on our network, without any ads, you get special feeds for those. You also get exclusive Twit Plus podcast feed content, so extra shows that you won't find outside of the club, Home Theater Geeks, Hands on Windows, Hands on Mac, Stacy's Book Club, the Untitled Linux Show, all sorts of stuff. And then a members only Discord, which is always a lot of fun, $7 per month. And all you got to do is go to twit.tv/clubtwit. We even have a family plan now. You get a little bit of a discount for your family. Check it out. twit.tv/clubtwit. As for this show, you can find everything you need to know at twit.tv/AAA. Subscribe to it. Then you won't miss a single episode and you won't be sad. You will be happy. Thank you so much for watching and listening. We'll see you next time on All About Android. Bye, everybody.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I am Ant Pruitt, and I am the host of Hands On Photography here on Twit TV. I know you got yourself a fancy smartphone, you got yourself a fancy camera, but your pictures are still lacking. Can't quite figure out what the heck shutter speed means? Watch my show. I got you covered. Want to know more about just the ISO and exposure triangle in general? Yeah, I got you covered. Or if you got all of that down, you want to get into lighting, making things look better by changing the lights around you. I got you covered on that too. So check us out each and every Thursday here on the network. Go to twit.tv/hop and subscribe today.